Aloha Nui Patriots, it's Shariraye with the verse of the day, September 3rd. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man, but I see another law in my members warring against the law of my mind, bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members, Romans 7:22-23. There are several laws here listed, all designed by God, which will definitely work as they were designed to work. Those laws are: 1. The law of God. This is the moral part of the Mosaic law, in which the inner man delighted, but which within himself he was unable to keep. This is, in effect, the Ten Commandments, Exodus chapter 22. The law of the mind. This is the mind of the redeemed man, which wants to walk in victory. It has the desire and the will, but within itself it is insufficient. 3. The law of sin. This is the sin nature, which is stronger than the law of the mind, and which brings a person into spiritual captivity in some way to sin. The law of the mind wants to serve the law of God, but not being strong enough within itself, instead finds the flesh serving the law of sin, Romans 7:25. This is the same as the law of sin and death of Romans 8:2. That's the reason the apostle said, "O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death," in 7:24. Regrettably, this is exactly where most Christians are, at least those who sincerely want to live for God. 4. The law of faith, Romans 3:27. This is the law designed by God, which opens up the next law, which we will momentarily discuss. The law of faith refers strictly to faith in Christ and his finished work. 5. The law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus. This is the most powerful law in the universe. It is the only law which is more powerful than the law of sin and death, which is the same as the law of sin of 7:23. If the believer doesn't function according to the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus, he cannot walk in victory, cannot enjoy more abundant life, and he is, in fact, in danger of losing his way with God, even as millions already have. These are laws which were designed by God. To be sure, these laws will always have the intended effect. The law of sin and death is the second most powerful law in the universe. It has filled the earth with graves and has caused untold pain, sickness, suffering, and catastrophe. Unconverted man keeps trying to overcome this law by all type of means, but he cannot. Unfortunately, redeemed man tries to do the same thing, either through ignorance or unbelief, with the results being the same in either case. Far too many believers attempt to overcome this terrible law of sin and death by means other than the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus. It cannot be done, and it is not meant to be done. We learn just how powerful the law of sin and death actually is by understanding the price that had to be paid in order for this law to be overcome. That price was the cross of Christ. That's the reason that Paul preached the cross. That's the reason we preach the cross. There is no other way.